Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully you can hear me, but I wanted to first say hi, everyone. Thank you, UCI alumni community, for joining us today. I'm Jeff Menhaus. I'm Executive Director at the UCI Alumni Association, and I'm very excited to be with you and our special guest for today. I think we're going to have a really fun program, and we look forward to seeing where it takes us today. This is part of the Lunch with Eaters series. It's a twice monthly event, virtual lunch and learn program built specifically for the UCI alumni community. This Lunch with Eaters program is part of a lot of virtual programming that we have been offering on behalf of the UCI alumni community during this time of social distancing. And we've been mixing it up with a variety of programs and topics. This one is a very passionate topic for many Anteaters out there, and that is, of course, our men's basketball program. I've been a lifelong fan myself, so I've really been looking forward to this, the chance to get to speak with our current head coach. So we have an archive, just so you know for future reference, of all of our virtual programming and online resources. It's called the Anteaters Go Virtual website. This is a website on the Alumni Association page full of resources to feel connected and engaged with fellow alumni, because we're in this together and we want to help bridge connections between you all. Little housekeeping. All of the attendees on this program are muted in order to eliminate background noise and interference. We do welcome interaction, so we are going to have an audience Q&A section a little bit later in this program. So feel free to submit questions via the chat and Q&A function on Zoom, and then we'll get to as many questions of those as possible before we wrap the program at 1 o'clock. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce our featured speaker today, and that is Coach Russell Turner. Coach Turner is the all-time winningest coach in the UCI men's basketball program. He became the winningest coach this past season, which was his 10th season, and he has guided UCI men's basketball to 209 wins, averaging more than 20 wins a season, which is a phenomenal achievement. He's a giant man, and he has led a giant program, and has a giant voice for any of you who have seen the team play at the Bren. We can all hear him and his passion for the game and passion for his players. More than that, he has really established the UCI men's basketball program as the dominant program in the Big West Conference. So we have something really to be proud of here in our flagship sport. So without further ado, let's please join me virtually in giving Coach Turner a big Anteater welcome. And Coach, once you're ready, go ahead and join us with your video and unmute yourself. We got you, Coach?
Yeah, can you hear me, Jeff?
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Thanks for having me. And it's great to be with the alums of UCI and to celebrate our unity together. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity.
And we thank you for being with us today, Coach. We're going to start off with a little bit of audience interaction. So there's going to be a poll popping up on your screen, and I'll introduce that quickly. What's the win-loss record of our program's most successful season? Now, remember, we've had more than 50 years of men's basketball at UCI. So what was our most successful season? Not all of these records may be real or legitimate. Give you a couple seconds to finish answering that. All right, do we have the results we can share from the audience? All right. Yes, indeed, it looks like 78% of our audience got it correct. 31-6, and that is a very high note to start off on. Coach, this was the 2018-19 season, of course, and that was a highlight for many of us Anteater fans. Can you talk a bit about how you led the program and the players to that season, which was just full of success, culminating with our first ever NCAA tournament victory?
Well, yeah, I love talking about that season because when I came to UC Irvine, I probably, wouldn't have thought that a season like that was possible even. To win 30 games, 31 games in our case in college basketball is really rare. And rarer than that, I guess, for Irvine was to not just make the NCAA tournament, but to advance the way we did. I think we had a special component of luck there in our favor with the games being in San Jose. So many of our alums could be a part of that. And it was a special season, really made possible by a special group of players and by all the experiences that had led to that point. So I'm thankful for it. I'm also excited to see if we can duplicate that or even exceed that in future years. The group we had this year was very much hopeful to make another charge and to ignite our community the way that group did. So we're going to keep aiming at that, and we're getting great support around here.
Yeah, that was an amazing ride for all of us in Eater Nation. But you mentioned it, a nice transition to the next question. This last season was, again, very promising. We finished first place in the Big West Conference, yet again, many times under your lead. But just as the Big West tournament was about to begin, the season was canceled. So that prevented you and the staff and the guys, the players, from defending that best season in our history. Can you talk about that experience, perhaps how you learned about it, and what that lost opportunity, what impact that made on you and the team?
Yeah, sure. And I will first, though, mention where I think we were when we got canceled this year, because we had won the league by 3 games, and that's unusual. It's unusual to win the championship, but it's especially unusual to win it the way we did in dominating fashion, really, throughout the course of the 16-game season. So I was exceptionally proud of the team that we had. We had a group of seniors, especially, who all had a lot to prove this year, I thought. They felt that way very much about going into our conference tournament. They wanted to prove that we could repeat as champions, but more specifically that they could lead the way towards the championship. I think that we could have. I also think if we had been able to qualify for the NCAA tournament, we'd have been really dangerous again, like we had been the year before. I think that we were on the verge of being the same type of good this year as we had been the year before, but we just didn't get the opportunity to prove that. And I feel like we were in a great place. We gear our entire season towards being our best in March, and our players, I think, were of that mindset, and we were healthy. We were competitively motivated going into the tournament because we had dropped our last game. I think there were a lot of reasons that we could have made a great run again, but as everyone knows, we weren't able to have that opportunity. I was especially proud of my guys, though, for the way we handled it. At that time, not as much was known about the coronavirus, but my guys are incredibly thoughtful, and many of them had been studying closely what was happening because the NBA had been canceled just before we were canceled. Tommy Rutherford, for example, is a guy who's dealt with respiratory issues his whole life. Evan Leonard, for example, has close contact with his grandparents on a regular basis. So those guys were rightfully concerned about the coronavirus. And I think that we all recognized when the decision was made to end the season that it was an appropriate decision. But we were also all incredibly disappointed, heartbroken even at having that opportunity taken from us. But I thought that our guys' maturity showed really well in their responses. And that's maybe something to be prouder of, even in the success that we have had on the court. So it was tough, but it was also good.
Yeah, there's no question that the profile of player that you and your coaching staff recruit for UCI men's basketball is top notch. We're proud of our Anteaters on and off the court, and I'm sure for them it's been a difficult quarter between March and now, leading up to graduation, and probably difficult for you and the staff as well. Can you explain, talk a little bit about what life is like, what life has been like for your program since then, since the season was canceled and classes went online for spring quarter?
Yeah, sure. And let me first address the first part of your question and what you were saying. You know, I do take great pride and satisfaction from the fact that I get to recruit to UC Irvine. And what that means is that, or I think what it's meant for our program is that we've done a good job fitting our players to the identity of this university. And that's not easy to do, but it's something that's fun to do. And I do know that our guys love the identity of this place. I think they really especially enjoy the momentum that's been created in this university community for continued pursuit of excellence and improvement. And so a lot of that is really, my guys bring that mentality anyway. That's why they fit here. That's why we're successful in recruiting them to be part of our program and part of this university. So we know that there's going to be adversities we face. We couldn't have predicted this one for sure, but our guys have been resourceful, and they've shown some grit in their response to the shutdown, to the distance learning or internet courses, all those things. I think the hardest thing for everybody has been that we haven't been able to do anything together as a group athletically, and that a lot of athletic activities have been stopped. But in the grand scheme of things, I do believe our guys have good perspective. And so I've been really pleased with the way they've attacked their academics in this situation. We finished for the quarter. This is a nervous time for a lot of coaches where you're sitting around waiting on grades. But I'm confident in my guys this quarter that we're going to have a good quarter. I'm especially pleased that the guys who are attempting to graduate here in the spring, it looks like they're all going to make it through the way that we expected. We haven't, had the opportunity to be together in person, but we've taken the opportunity when we could to connect virtually as we're doing now. And I don't think that we're falling behind anybody. My challenge to the players is similar to what it always is. Whatever the circumstances, we can come out ahead of our competition if we apply ourselves and we're unified. And I think that we've been those things right now, even though there hadn't been a whole lot we can do. Your question about what we're doing is, the answer to that is not much. There's not much that we can do other than continue to be patient. We are hoping that we're going to be able to move our guys back on campus at some point in summer school, and that we'll be able to begin to work out together at some point this summer. But all those questions are still unanswered. But there are a lot of people working really hard to give us those answers, and we're trying to be patient until we get
them. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that, Coach. This is on the minds of a lot of our alumni, and I'm actually starting to see some questions come in here. We'll get to more specific questions later, but I know a lot of Anteater fans have considered this a lost season. So just bringing this up one more time, considering the regular season honors, first place in the Big West by 3 games, Evan, Leonard, and Colin Velp being named first team All Big West, yourself, once again, Big West Coach of the Year. Is that how you view it? Do you view it as a lost season? And is it something that we can bounce back from to hit the same high notes next year?
Well, yeah, good question. And no, I don't in any way view it as a lost season. I think I can relate to that language that people may use, because we may have lost the opportunity to prove ourselves again on a national stage in the NCAA tournament. We may have lost that, but that wasn't a guaranteed opportunity. And there's no way to consider all the successes we had this season as lost. We had great team success with the championship that we won. And we've made that seem kind of routine, I guess, winning the regular season. We've won it now 5 times. And I don't think it's as meaningful to the average alum or the average fan to do that as it is to advance the NCAA tournament. And that's understandable. It's not really as meaningful to us either. We focus every bit of energy we can on, the tournament and qualifying for the NCAA tournament. So we did lose that opportunity. But the growth that we had, the success that we had as a group, the individual success that a lot of our players had, there's too much that happened that was positive for this to feel like a lost season to me.
That's great. And I'm sure our players and fans feel the same way. Looking a little bit ahead, can you talk, and we are going to get to a special acknowledgement for the seniors who may feel that a little bit more. But before we do that, I'd like to look ahead a little bit. I know next season, of course, is off in the distance, but is there anything you can share about our future prospects of the team and how you feel about our chances next year and potentially with some of our new recruits?
Yeah, I'd love to. As far as our chances, some of our fans know probably already that the people who prognosticate, and I don't give too much weight to what they say, but we are already being predicted to win the league again next year, I think, which is a nod to our consistent success, but it's also a nod to our returning players, and I think also to the players we have coming into our program. We've got 5 freshmen that are coming in, and what I'm hoping is that this can be the type of class that our graduating class has been. I think the guys we have coming in are talented. I think that they're young, so that means there's room for them to improve. Our staff has done an incredible job. Our basketball coaching staff has done an incredible job of attracting guys who fit us and who fit the other talent on our team. So we're going to be good. It's just a matter of how we work all that out, I think. I've been effusive in some cases about the praise that I give to a couple of our backcourt players who are coming in here, Andre Henry and DJ Davis. A lot of our fans have seen those guys and have seen, recently how talented they are. I do think that they're exceptional talents and that they have the possibility of fitting together in a way that makes them a special combination moving forward. But they're not the only ones in that class who can play. Dawson Baker is a local product, and he went on a Mormon mission. So I think people are going to be excited to see him again. And then Hunter Ruck from Phoenix, Arizona, is in many ways like Tommy Rutherford, and I have high hopes for him too. So, and then there's one other member of that class I'm not positive I'm able to mention yet, so I'm going to keep from mentioning him. But I do like this class. This class is good. I think the expectations for our team should continue to be high. A lot of that's based on what we have returning. The freshmen last year, I thought were all impactful players. The guys who played, and Isaiah Lee and Jerron Artest and Austin Johnson, those guys, I think everyone who saw them knows they're going to be good. We've got 2 first-team all-conference caliber players, and Brad Green and Colin Velp coming back. And then we had some guys that we redshirted last year. Everybody remembers J.C. Butler and the role he played on our best team in history. We're going to be good. It's just a matter of how we fit it all together and how quickly we can become good again. And then there's always the issue of the schedule for us. We had a harder schedule this year, so early on maybe everybody didn't think we were as good as we were. I think our staff was confident, our team was confident, and then we proved that in our league. And I think the same thing could be the case next year.
Yeah, that is an outstanding list of talented young men you have on the team. Very, very well balanced and a diverse from leadership to new raw talent. I'm really excited to see everyone on the court and how everyone's going to mix together. And I also appreciate this from a basketball fan's perspective, that you do challenge yourselves with a tough schedule. That's kind of a hallmark of increasing the quality of the program. And you know, we've long had asked. Go ahead.
Can I add something to that? Because we do challenge ourselves, and we don't really have any choice. The success that we've had has made it virtually impossible for us to find teams who will play us. And so what I'd ask is maybe for a little bit of understanding from our alumni on that. I'll give you an example. Right now, the #1 team in the country next year projected is Gonzaga. And we're working very hard to get them to play us. And they're not easily agreeing to do that. I would think they'd want to play a team like us in their non-conference schedule. But even that game is hard for us to get. So we're working our tails off to get the schedule completed, and we'll have that out as soon as we can. But it's more and more of a challenge every year that we have success.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Thanks for sharing that, Coach. And it feeds nicely into my next question. You've been at the helm for 10 years, and our program has grown so much under your leadership and that of your staff. Can you talk a little bit about the long game that you've played, you know, coming in, inheriting a program that wasn't necessarily averaging, you know, 20 wins a season, and, you know, building your coaching staff, recruiting new players, and turning it into a perennial conference champion, averaging more than 20 wins a season. We are the powerhouse in the Big West. You know, I know you're probably, you know, too respectful to admit that, but how has this 10 years gone for you? Is this something that you mapped out, or was it a slow build to get to this point?
Well, yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, and I don't mind acknowledging that we've been a powerhouse in our league. And I mean, I think we built that. We've earned that at this stage. That doesn't mean that that's likely to continue. We did, you know, I say we because my staff is so important, and I want to maybe segue into talking about my staff a little bit, especially given the audience of this call as UCI alums. But we did manage to look at this university and our program and how it could fit, and design a plan that we've mostly followed. And you have to be really lucky along the way to achieve the success that we have. You have to be fortunate, but then you've also got to be consistently really good in a lot of areas. And so we've done that. I think the department has grown with us in terms of the things that we expect for our team. And I'm hoping that we continue to build and to grow that way. I think the support that we've gotten from our alums, from the community, has grown. I think that there's still room for growth there that I'm hopeful that we can achieve. And I think that we've mainly figured out the identity that a successful basketball program here needs to have. And now we're getting better and better at finding players that fit that identity. We're getting better and better at helping those players develop. And I think that we've also managed to continue to adapt in order to improve. And that will be the challenge that we face as much as anything moving forward, because our league has become more like us in an attempt to knock us off. And right now, I think we have other programs in our league that are investing more than we are maybe into overcoming us. So we have to continue to raise our game. My coaching staff, I want to mention, because Ryan Battertelli has been with me for 10 years. And there's no one more critical to our sustained long-term success than he has been. And I give him a lot of credit. And then I've got two UC Irvine alums on my staff now too, in Alex Young and Mike Wilder. And it's nice to be able to have smarter guys than I am around me. I got two UC Irvine alums, and I got one guy who went to UCLA. I guess, he probably couldn't get into Irvine. But Mike and Alex have been just unbelievable assets to our program, first as players, but now as coaches. And that's been truer for me each year that we've been together. Those guys are as invested as any coaches that I know into this university because they're alums, but also into our program because they played in it. And that energy is unmistakable and is really propelling us forward. So I'm hoping that we can continue to adapt, as I've said, to continue to find ways to get better. That's what we've been striving to do, and that's what we're going to continue to do, hopefully to remain on the course we're on and to grow through it.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for mentioning the staff, which you heap praise on rightfully. And we're proud to have alumni and Mike Wilder and Alex Young on the staff and helping to lead our success, as well as Coach Battertelli, who's just a stand-up friend of mine. So all that said, I want to just dip into the history of UCI. And actually, Cameron, who's my colleague on the call, I'm going to ask you to pop up the second audience poll, if you don't mind. Audience, you should see a poll popping up on your Zoom. Just got a bit of a trivia question for you that'll lead us into our next question. How many men's basketball jerseys are retired in the rafters at the Brent Event Center? We'll give you a second, 10 seconds to answer that one. How many jerseys are retired and hung in the rafters of the Brent Event Center? Yep, 90% got it right. We have two. First, the unmistakable Kevin Mcgee, who I never had the pleasure of seeing play, but had a great pro career as well. But the reason we bring this up is because just last year, we retired the second jersey in our history of our program, and that was Scott Brooks, who played for UCI, I believe, 88 to 90. And he is now the head coach of the Washington Wizards, former NBA Coach of the Year. We've had a lot of talent come through the program. We saw some of those great records we had both during Coach Turner's tenure and before. But a legacy was handed off to Coach Turner, and he's taken us to a whole nother couple of levels. Coach, I wonder if you wouldn't mind just speaking a little bit to the history of the program of our 50 years and where you see us growing in the future.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now, what I was thinking you were going to ask is which guys that I've coached need to have their jerseys retired.
That too. We'd like to hear that too.
Good. Yeah. Well, I wasn't expecting that question, but that's a good question to consider because it'll allow me to credit a lot of the guys that we've had, and I hope I won't leave anyone out. But I knew there was a history of success here at Irvine when I was evaluating whether to come here, and I think there were two different types of success here. Mulligan, when he was here, did it one way, and then Pat Douglas also achieved success with a couple of league championships doing it quite another way. As the game and Ncaa Division I basketball is evolving, figured out maybe a different way to do it that incorporates some of the things that both of those previous two coaches were able to do. We've recruited well. There's no question about that. And then we've developed well. And I'm really happy that we settled on a development philosophy in our program. We recruit young players. We recruit guys who we believe are undervalued. And then we try to bring things out of them. And our staff has had some success with that. But the credit for that really goes to the players who've done it. And there's so many of them that we can honor. I was thinking, yeah, only two jersey retirements. I know that there are a great number of players that, deserve maybe that honor, and then trying to figure out how to narrow it down and who else should be considered. Let me just go through what I initially thought. Will Davis and Max Hazard were both the most outstanding players in conference tournaments that we won to go to the Ncaa tournament for the only two times in our school's history. It'd be hard not to consider them maybe the ultimate honor. Jonathan Galloway is high in our record books and was three-time Defensive Player of the Year. Hard not to consider him. Mamadou is in a class by himself in terms of the impact he has on what other people remember from us. So it's hard not to consider him. Luke Nelson was Conference Player of the Year. He'd be a great candidate. Alex Young was the all-time leading wins producer here when he finished, and I think is the assist leader in our conference or in our school's history, among other things, maybe some more things. I would have to put Tommy Rutherford in the mix. Somehow we should consider him just for the incredible, fit that he is to this community academically and with his hard work and his commitment. And I'm leaving some guys out. There's a lot of people who could be considered. And what I'm bringing all that up is to shine some light for maybe the consistent fans, for some of the, just to appreciate some of the great individual performances we've gotten from players on our team. Because we mostly get the credit for our team success, but there have been a lot of outstanding individuals who've sacrificed a lot to make all this possible, and I couldn't be more appreciative. And who knows? We got two in Brad Green and Colin Welp, who could be, at the level where they're in the mix to be considered for their jerseys retirement, depending on what they do next year. So I am hopeful. I'm hopeful, and I'm thankful, and I appreciate you giving me a chance to mention all those guys, because all of them mean so much to me and to our staff and to our fans.
Yeah, and thank you, Coach, for mentioning them. We have a proud tradition, and although we only have two jerseys in the rafters, we have many more of our men's basketball alumni inducted into the UCI Athletics Hall of Fame, many more with Big West Conference honors, and like you said, a phenomenal bunch of players who you coached who are going to be up hopefully in the rafters someday. Now, I want to take us back about 10 years ago. This is a bit of a surprise, but I believe it was just before your first season coaching. We were excited. We had this Coach Turner coming in he had an NBA coaching experience, college coaching experience. And Cameron, I'll ask you to pull up this video from Shocktoberfest. I believe Mike Wilder will remember this one. This was our introduction to you as a basketball coach, and we'll go ahead and play that video now. If you remember this was a highlight for many.
Could you throw it down if you had to? Hey, right now, you can throw it down right now. Is that what you're telling me? Bear the team, board, bear the entire team. Let's hear it for Coach. I think you can throw it down. Oh, our judges love it. All right, it's time to Dougie. Could you throw it down?
So that was Coach Turner, the head coach of the basketball program, throwing down in front of a packed house at the Brent Event Center with a really clean dunk there. And that was one of the first times I saw you coach, and I was thrilled that we had an actual great athlete and experienced coach coming in to take us to another level, and you certainly have. So you don't need to respond to that, but I wanted to treat the audience to that great memory we had as we started our journey together. Now, I want to kind of move into another section where we do have more videos. You've mentioned these four outstanding players who have meant a lot to the program, in Evan Leonard, Yasu Worku, Tommy Rutherford, and John Edgar Jr. And for those who were not at senior night, they did get a great send-off at the Bren. But we want to give you the chance to give them a little commentary and share some of the words that you said with the following videos. So we'll go ahead and cue those up so that our alumni get one last look at our 4 seniors on the court.
Tommy Rutherford's just been a joy to coach. I've never had a guy who's such a hard worker. And I don't just mean in basketball, I mean in everything that he does. His academics, obviously his basketball, but that guy's intent to do the right thing is as strong as any player I've ever coached. And so to see all the success that he's had himself and all the different ways he's impacted this team and the success we've generated in his time here, it's been a lot of fun. Nobody's more responsible for all that success than Tommy. John Edgar is just quite a story. He's been one of the pieces that's sort of glued this class together in terms of making it stronger and making it better. And I've loved the impact he's had this senior season especially, but all through his time here because of how hard he competes. He's just a competitive person who's raised the level every day for our team in practice, and that's shown up on the floor with the way this team competes. Yeah, Yasu has been an incredible leader this season and had just an outstanding career. And our whole program has felt the benefit of the number of different ways that Yasu's a winner. He's an incredible student, a thoughtful guy, somebody who makes me want to be better every day. And he's done that for our team, both on and off the court. I'm just really proud of him and happy for the success he's enabled our program to have and the success he's had himself individually. I'll never forget the drive that Evan Leonard showed to make the Ncaa tournament last year and the way that he raised his competitive level in the most important part of our season. It's been a joy to coach Evan and to see all the different ways he's contributed to this team, both on and off the floor. Just really proud of all of what he's done, both on offense and on defense, and the type of teammate that he's been. He's just exceeded all of our expectations, and his future remains bright for him as a player.
So a phenomenal class of seniors from this past year. And I want to give credit to our great friends and colleagues at UCI Athletics for producing those videos and acknowledging the great contributions that they had to the program. Coach, is there anything you'd like to add about that? I know we got some comments on each of the players individually, but you did mention this senior class as a really well glued together one that contributed a lot to the program.
Yeah. Well, and thanks, Jeff, for showing those videos. Our the folks in the department who produced those did a great job. And it's hard to get my mind around the fact that these guys are moving on, and we haven't really, maybe honored them even more than we have, because for them to win 3 conference championships is not something that we would have thought even to be possible when they came in. And I don't even know how to begin to talk about the level that means that we consistently sustained through their time here. And it's not easy to be part of our program. We're demanding guys as coaches. To do what we do as a team is hard. And then when you add that, the world-class education that these guys are pursuing while they're here, all of them pursuing that to the level that they pursued it, to be in a position now to graduate, or in Tommy's case, to continue on toward graduation in one of the most difficult majors here. It's just remarkable, the success that those guys have generated. And I recognize, as much as I try to acknowledge that and to appreciate that, I don't even know if I do it well enough. So I hope our fans can take a moment or two and savor just what these kids accomplished, because they're local. And I think that's especially need. Each one of them, I made a point of this before the season started. Each one of them comes from a public high school in California. And so they particularly fit with what we're doing and what makes this place special and great. And then to add to all that, what they were able to do on the court is just an awesome combination, I think. And I'm just proud of those guys, and I appreciate those guys, and I'm gonna miss them.
Well, thanks for that retrospective, Coach. We hope that I know a number of them are pursuing professional careers, so we hope that they have continued success abroad, locally, professionally, like many of your former players have. So all of our best thoughts and thanks to those players for their contributions.
Let me mention that real quickly, because I do think that each one of those guys will have the opportunity to play professionally. They're all in different stages of that process now, but they're all working towards it, and they're all hopeful. The pandemic that we're facing makes every industry more difficult, and professional basketball is no different. But all four of those guys are working hard and in pursuit of their professional dreams, which I expect will be accomplished like just about every other goal that those guys have set. So we'll keep all of our fans posted on that as we learn more. So hopefully our fans can continue to follow them and what they do overseas.
All right. Well, with that, we're on schedule now to go into audience Q&A. So we've got a number of great questions from the audience so far. I encourage you to continue to submit them, and we'll try to get through as many of them as we can in our remaining 15 minutes or so. So here we go with questions, and I'm going to bring up the first question about a specific player who was not a senior, but was named first team all-conference, and that would be Colin Velp. David Millell wants to know, what would you like to see from Colin Velp to take the next step?
Good question, David. You know, I know our fans are excited about seeing even more of Colin next year than we did this year. You know, the first thing I want to do when it comes to Colin right now is point out what a great teammate he was this year and accepting a role coming off the bench, which was not easy, you know, for us to even ask him to do, but he excelled in that role, as everyone saw. And I think his talent is undeniable. You know, Colin needs to just continue to get better. And there's not a weakness that I see that he has that he's not, you know, shown improvement in. You know, I challenged him early in his career for his defensive consistency, for his level of interest sometimes on the defensive end, and for his rebounding. But he really took big steps in those areas this year. You know, he's a kid who wants the ball at the end of the game, who believes in himself, and has a competitive drive that's like mine, you know, which I think is at a really high level. So I don't think there are limits on what he can become. He's just got to stay at it. You know, we're going to play Colin more, probably play through him more. I think our fans will see that he's an even better passer when he's given that opportunity than maybe what he's shown to this point, even though he's shown strength in that area. I think he's going to have a chance to lead, which will be different than the experience he's had in these first 3 years he's been in our program. And I'm excited for that because Colin's got leadership capability. And I don't think, coached a guy who wants as badly as Colin wants to be good. So what I think that I'll say without getting into more specifics is I just want to see him continue to stay devoted and get better. And I have no doubt that he will.
All right. So great. The next question we have is from Chris Takeshi. And Chris asks, what are your thoughts on the state of NCAA basketball from a broader sense, knowing that it's kind of a changing environment and, you know, things like the transfer portal and whatnot, you know, can benefit and hurt teams. Do you have any broad comments on the state of men's basketball?
Yeah, sure. And Chris, thanks for the question. specifically about the transfer portal, and I guess I'll address that first. I mean, college basketball is ever changing, and I've said before that I challenge my staff that we have to continue to adapt. I think that we've got to do that as a team, and we've got to do that within the context of the NCAA and its changes too. We've done that, and I'm proud about that. The transfer portal is a particular challenge right now for a lot of teams, and we've embraced those changes. I think there's not really any reason to be resistant to the changes that are coming. You just got to figure out what they're going to be and as best you can, and how you can best adapt. We've both lost transfers, and Max Hazard is a good example. I'm happy for him that he got to chase his dream of playing at that level, but that hurt us. But we've benefited too from the same rule and bringing in Robert Cartwright. And so we're going to continue to try to figure out ways to manage that. I'm proud of our record of continuity, both with our staff and with our players. Our guys do have a great life here at UC Irvine, as most of you alums know. I mean, this is a great place. It's challenging, but it's also great. And so we're going to continue to try to find ways to exploit the strengths of our program at this university. Now, that's going to get harder because the Power 5 schools are separating even further from schools like us that define ourselves as mid-majors. We've done some things to elevate our status, I think, in the last 10 years that I've been here, but continuing to do those things will be hard, and will take commitment, both from our staff, from the university, from our donors. I'm hopeful that we can continue to grow, but that's not easy. And, if we can build more and more excitement about the possibilities that we can create, about the inspiration that we can give on our campus, then some of that's possible. And that's what we're trying to figure out together.
Great. Thanks, Coach. We have this is more of an acknowledgement from Scott Lucas in the audience. He's representing the band. We former band members are some of the most rabid Eater fans, and I attest that this is true. Can you give the band some love and let us know that you hear us?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great opportunity. Man, that guy, Scott, I think I've met him, and he may be one of the loudest guys in the band from what I remember. But there's no question, if you were in San Jose when our band was there, there's no question how much they add to the environment in that scenario, but also in the brand. We've gotten unbelievable support from that group, and that's actually been an area that I've promoted trying to grow, because I think that for our fans, the better, the more fun atmosphere we can create, the better support we'll get, the better engagement our community will get. The band is critical to that. The cheerleaders are critical to that. The environment that we can create at our games, all is part of that equation. So I can't thank the band members enough, especially Scott for sending in that question.
Yes, and we're blessed with a great band who's always bringing the spirit, and we want more alumni to come join us in the brand and do the same. I've got a great question here from one of our alumni chapter leaders at the Latino alumni chapter, Magdalena Villalba. She asks, how do you support your players so that they can be academically successful?
Oh, good. Well, great question, Magdalena. Thank you for asking that, because you'll hear part of the recruiting pitch, I guess, that we make to all the athletes that we recruit. We work as hard as we can to be as supportive as we can of our athletes and their academic pursuits at UCI. And we've got great evidence, I think, of the successes we're creating there. An example this year would be with Tommy Rutherford, who's coming through the civil engineering curriculum, which is one of the most difficult on campus. we're going to give our guys the freedom that they need to meet the academic demands here. And when I say freedom, I mean that we try to build a routine around our practices. That's one step. We try to make academic support available to them. Our academic coordinator, Alexis McDonald, is as good as they come. And, we provide our athletes with tutors at every opportunity. We generate the revenue to pay for that. In many cases, we'll seek out additional help if we identify needs that our players have. We'll get them tested to determine what those needs are, and then we'll meet them. We arrange our schedule in ways that makes every attempt to reduce travel so that guys can be in class, so that guys can get the rest that they need. There are just many factors that go into fitting together the demands academically that our guys face with the demands there are being student athletes. And I think in 10 years, I've figured out how to get better and better at that. And Alex Young and Mike Wilder on my staff, who traveled that road, are also huge values in figuring the things out, the little things that we can do that all add together to make this a manageable and rewarding combination for our players. And so we do that. And then we also obviously recruit players who want badly to be challenged academically. And so there's many layers to the answers to that question.
Well, we're very proud of that. UCI, is a research academic institution first and foremost, and a worldwide leader in that regard. And your program really carries the torch as well. So we're very proud of those qualities in your program. On a lighter note, Russ Kerr has noticed something in your background, and he would like us to ask what the significance is of the multiple sombreros on the top shelf behind you.
Yeah, okay, good question. There's not a great significance. We have played in the time I've been here in a tournament in El Paso at UTEP, which I think previously was known as, I think it was West Texas, but UTEP is a place about which the movie Glory Road was made. So they were national champions at one point, and they actually were a university that started 5 black players and defeated a team in Kentucky that started 5 white players. So that was the reason for the movie. But I think it's an interesting place in the history of basketball to visit. And so we've accepted invitations to their tournament 3 different times in my 10 years. And each year when we go there, it's a great cultural experience for our players because one of the things that happens is when we get off the plane at the airport, there's a welcoming committee associated with the Sun Bowl. And the Sun Bowl is the name of the basketball tournament. It's affiliated with the football, college football bowl game that's played there. But they meet us and they greet us, and there's a mariachi band, and they give the head coach a sombrero, and the team all dances around. And some of our fans maybe have seen some of that, but those 3 sombreros up there are the 3 that I've accumulated in my trips to El Paso, which have been some of the best and the funnest trips our teams have made. There's not a good place in the house for a sombrero, so they all sort of got stuffed up there in that corner. And sometimes on the Cinco de Mayo, my kids and I will break them out. But yeah, they sit there, and that's really the significance.
Thanks for sharing that, Coach. Now we're coming in on time, so I'm going to go to our last question. It does come from someone you're very familiar with. Assistant Coach Mike Wilder asks, we just saw that first dunk you had when you joined the program, but he wants to know when the next dunk is scheduled, Coach. When are we going to see another dunk from you?
Mike's always thinking ahead. The dunk that was in that video was just after my 40th birthday, and now my 50th is coming. And one of the days we were reflecting on the end of our season and celebrating together the things that our team had accomplished, my staff and I gathered and had a few drinks together. And next thing you know, I'd made a bet with those guys that I would dunk again on my 50th birthday. So that wager, I think, memorialized publicly. And so yeah, I acknowledge you've done that, and I may be an underdog, but you better get to the ATM on October 24th.
There we go. Well, I am sure there will be video of you succeeding in your quest on your 50th birthday, and hopefully we can share that with the alumni the next time that we have an event. Now,
there's
Coach,
a low likelihood we're going to video that day.
Okay, fair, all fair. Well, Coach, that brings us to time. I want to give you, on behalf of the UCI Alumni Association, a huge thank you for presenting and answering all those questions. Thank you and your coaching staff. And we also wanted to welcome the 4 seniors you talked about to the Alumni Association.
Yeah.
We want to continue to engage all of our past athletes and players, but all of our alumni, of course. And we have many ways to do that engagement. We have a couple final 2 poll questions that we're going to ask the audience right now, just so we can improve our programming in the future before we wrap up. So how likely are you to recommend this virtual series to another alumni member? And of course, we do encourage you to do that on social media, in person, engage your classmates. There are many ways that alumni can re-engage with us, and attending these events is just one of them. So that's the first question. And then one final question for everyone. Come up in just a second. And Coach, oh yeah, it looks like folks are very likely. And the second question was, have you attended one of these Lunch with Eaters virtual webinars before? And the majority of you have not. So thanks for coming in to hear from Coach Turner. Coach, thank you for being a great sport, dipping into some videos that were previously unannounced with the dunking video, and we're getting some thanks to you from some of the alumni in the audience. We look forward to chatting again. Hopefully, we look forward to everything that you and the staff and the players are going to be doing next season, and we will certainly be there to root you on. We want to thank everyone in the audience for attending. We want to also remind you that our next Lunch with Eaters virtual series is going to be this coming Friday, June 19th from 12 to 1, featuring a local alumnus, Ethan Fisher, the director of the Santa Ana Zoo. And we might have an appearance by Peter the Anteater in that one. So reach out to us. You can email the Alumni Association at alumni@uci.edu if you have any follow-up questions. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us. And again, Coach Turner, thank you very much. And we'll see everybody soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be with everybody.